people in the silver world are always, I guess they're somewhat into the doom and gloom because they want to know when's a big financial reset going to happen, when's this going to happen, when's the sky going to fall in, right? Well, I don't think the sky's going to fall in as much as people think, but what I always said is what's going to lead the charge is oil prices, and that's going to feel like the sky's falling in because it's going to affect all prices across the board. Actually, there's a number of hot spots in the world. It could be Russian tensions, it could be Saudi and Iran, it could be a lot of things. Kuwait, I don't know. There's a lot of hot spots in the world. You only got to knock down a couple percentage of, like Libya. Libya was putting out 1% of the world's oil. It drove the prices all the way up to like 120 something a barrel, right? And that was during the time that oil and gold went up to the new record. Actually, oil, gold, everything went up to new record levels. Gold actually went a little higher later on in 2011 due to the problems with the budgets and the downgrade of the U.S. debt. That's what really made gold. But it was all going up during that time in 2011, during the oil crisis, basically with Libya. Only taking 1% off the market. So this can come up. There's a number of hot spots. Now, I want to point out something because I know this has been known, and I don't like people putting this out as inside information about the derivatives bubble, and the derivatives bubble is going to pop. You know what? I read about the derivatives bubble in the Wall Street Journal, the Financial Times, Forbes, Reuters, all over the place, in all mainstream freaking financial rags, out there. They've been talking about this for freaking years and years and years. What about the derivatives bubble? Well, I don't know what's going to happen with it, but that's, what I could tell you what human nature is and the type of guys that are on the top. You know what? They're just going to grab as much crap as they can for themselves and scoot. That's what they'll do. I don't know what happened. That's what they're going to do. Anyway, I can tell you a little bit about some stuff that I don't want to comment too much on this because to me it gets me nervous sometimes because I don't really know nothing about it, but it's like I know a little more than just something I read on the internet and a stupid blog, talking about actual people. There's actually a lot of trades that go on behind the scenes on private PPP, private placement platforms, and they're closed to the public. As a matter of fact, they had one of those such trades I heard. Now this part I read on the internet about shorting BP or something during the before the Gulf oil spill, private trade or something. But I do know that there's a lot of commodity trades and things like that in oil that are behind the scenes that are not even open to the public, and there's big bucks involved. I mean, billions. And sometimes I wonder, if the money is really there or not. Because, it's, for one, I've seen actually where, and I've been told this, that there'd be a transfer of money from one bank to another bank. I forgot what it was. It was in Amsterdam to another bank or whatever the hell it was. I'm not going to dig up any details on this crap because it was a while ago. But, the transfer, the actual wire transfer would be stopped midstream. And they would tell me the U.S. government stopped it. Well, actually, I think that the U.S. government pretty much controls the entire global financial system, period. All right? I think the U.S. government does, one way or the other. All right? I think it already is a global financial system. If it's on paper, they control it. I think they do control it. So, that's one thing that, maybe that's one aspect of the part about, keeping some of your money not in the actual financial system itself, because I've seen or, I heard it from fairly close to the action sources that said that they actually stopped wires right in midstream. They also have internet banks that are, for some of these deals, that are, there's no brick and mortar. And some people look at that, I don't know. There's guys coming from Israel, people don't like it when I mention that place, but, I don't see what's wrong. I've never been there, but I don't see what's wrong with, anything. But they said that they were nervous about, the money going into like an internet bank. They were like, what the hell is this deal? I would be too, man. But, actually the way I look at it, it's almost like what you got now is what counts, not what you're going to have in the future. So, my strategy would be, I take a quarter of a basis point of that kind of money that was involved now, then screw around for possibly get some bigger bucks later, but you never know, that could be a raw deal too. I guess everything involves risk. But what I'm saying here is that, the actual financial establishment itself is pretty much probably on shaky ground, and probably a lot more controlled by the insiders than the people themselves. Our money was supposed to be wrapped up, supposed to be coined by Congress. It ain't like that at all now, that's for sure. And that's really what you got physical silver for. Now, what I think is going to happen is when oil prices go up, you're going to see silver and gold go up a lot. Like in Libya, when they had a conflict with Libya, Libya was only producing 1% of the world's oil. But it drove oil up to like 120 something a barrel. And that's when silver went up, and that's when gold went up. And gold went up, came down, and went up later more because of the devaluation of the debt downgrade some months later in that year, 2011. But it was actually oil that was pushing it up. So what I think is going to happen is you're going to see later on this year, and not talking like December, more like September, but we might even start seeing it by the end of the summer. Oil prices are going to start creeping up. There's a lot of hot spots going on in Saudi Arabia, even the royal family is sitting on. I think all the positions, even in the royal family in Saudi, is pretty precarious. I don't know what the hell's going on exactly, but there's so much going on over there and so much turmoil that it could be Iran, it could be Kuwait, it could be Saudi, it could even be tensions with Russia that's going on right now. Russia's a major oil producer. If they do anything to basically restrict some of the type of oil going to Europe or something or whatever, that'll have major repercussions. Now, I know in the case of Russia, they got this deal with they're trying to do a pipeline to China. Now, what's going on is there's actually a lot of stuff going on with that pipeline. And, I'm mentioning this because oil prices has a lot to do with, in a flow of oil. And in other words, prices has to do with, not what's in the ground or what's available on the earth. It has to do with, can you get it to market now? If you say you needed oil now for something, just if it's on the other side of the country and it can't get here quick enough, you're going to be paying more money for it. So, these statistics about how much oil's in the earth doesn't have too much to do with what's going on with the prices on a daily basis or monthly basis. But in Russia, they got, you heard about they're trying to establish this thing with Russia and China where they're going to be setting the price on oil in the globe. But you know what their problem is? They can't agree upon the pipeline. Actually, it's Gazprom, I think, has to build a pipeline to China. And what's going on is that Russia wants one pipeline, and it wants it to go through like where it's going to have some tapped off of South Korea and some tapped off from Japan, and China wants a separate pipeline going to China. And they want to have Russia build a pipeline to Japan and North Korea separately, and that will cost a hell of a lot more money. Now, the other side of it is this: it's not just that. And you see, what I'm saying is, this is making a big delay about all these stories about you hearing about the Sino-Russian pact with the oil and them taking over the global oil market and setting the oil prices, and that's the end of the dollar. Well, a lot of that depends upon them getting this pipeline done. And there's a lot of disagreement about that. Now, here's a big caveat. When they build a pipeline, say, for instance, to Japan, or say they're going to do a separate pipeline to Japan and South Korea, it's going to cost a lot more money. And Russia doesn't want to do this. But when they start doing this stuff, they have to, have set contract prices for the oil to get the money in advance because they're cash strapped. They're going to have to make an agreement as to what the oil price is going to be. And see, they can get screwed. In other words, they could be saying, oh, it's $100 a barrel, and the oil pipeline isn't even built. It's not even started to be built, but let's get the cash right now so we can start building it. And then 3 months from now, it's $120 a barrel. But they're on contract for $100 a barrel. and they think they realize, you know, they're going to get screwed out of a lot of money if that's the case. Plus, you know, China wants them to build 2 pipelines. So this whole pact about, you know, the oil pact in Russia and China, you know, wiping out the you know, the top status of, like, you know, the U.S. dollar controlling the oil market, it isn't happening that fast. All right, it isn't happening that fast. But what can actually bring up silver and gold is, you know, any type of conflict in the Middle East or Russia with Ukraine, you know, that type of stuff. I know. Now, I got to state this. I know somebody on my channel commented about Biden's son-in-law, whatever the hell it was, going into Ukraine to head up something. I don't like Biden. You know, if I'm criticizing Putin, that doesn't mean I like, you know, our leaders over here. You know, actually with Obama, his foreign policy is pretty bad. I think this is one area he's actually is displaying weakness. It's more like his foreign policy can be summed up in one sentence: draw a line in the stand and don't do anything when they step over it. That's pretty much what his foreign policy is. There is none. I don't know what the deal is with this guy, man, because I know he doesn't control everything. Some people control him, but maybe he does control a lot. I don't know. But I highly suspect, and I don't think it's a suspicion. I think it's pretty much a given that most leaders in the world are very much buddy-buddy with each other. Very much buddy-buddy with each other. And, you know, if they ever get in an argument, it's all on us. You know? That's what's screwed up about this deal. But I do think that, you know, you're going to see the silver prices probably start taking off faster than you think. Anything that happens in the Middle East is going to set it off. But I almost think it's going to be doldrums for June and July. I think it's going to be doldrums. It might start taking off in August, though. It doesn't take much. I repeat it again, but it was only like Libya only had 1% of the oil prices. If you take 1% of the oil off the market, it doesn't mean the oil goes up 1%. It goes up like 20% or something. It's ridiculous. And if you're talking about you know, even if there's turmoil in Saudi and say there's revolutionaries blowing up a pipeline. If you remember, there was a rumor a couple years ago, I think it was, that there was a pipeline blown up in Saudi. It actually turned out to be a fake rumor. I think it was one of those oil manipulation deals. But what happened was price of oil jumped up like $8 or something inside of, like, I don't know, a day and a half. And that's what can happen. And, you know, when that happens, and if there's more turmoil and there's more, you know, the war is going on longer and longer than they expect, if anything's going on, it doesn't have to even involve the United States or Israel. If it's just internal in the country, well, it's going to bring the price of oil up. And I have I have a good sense to know that, you know, since oil production is pretty much full on here in the United States, you know, it's going to be the global price of oil that's going to set the price for what we pay here in the USA, whether we have oil, plenty of oil or not. And this is what's going to drive up the price of the metals quite a bit, quite a bit. So anyway, just hang on in there, because I think the curve is going to turn around a lot. I know you've seen good news reports about the market outlook. I mean, not the market outlook, the consumer confidence and the durable goods outlook. The durable goods orders were coming in stronger, and that was bringing down the commodities. And you almost think about it, durable goods orders up brings down commodities, but that's pretty much how they figure it in the you know, in the Ouija board of the spot price market. I'll put it to you that way. But you know, it's going to play out pretty soon, because what I always stated is that oil prices is going to actually make the big difference. It's going to lead the charge for everything. People who are fixated on the supplies of silver in the world, the cost of mining and all that, it's not going to matter so much as what happens psychologically during conflict. It's not going to matter as much. Like I said, you know, I was giving examples before with hula hoops or something. You know, plastic did not run out in the world, but the price of hula hoops went way up because the end product just, you know, there was a frenzy. There was a frenzy for it. And, you know, if there's something goes wrong with this derivatives market, which they've been predicting for many, many, many years, it's going to really create a big frenzy and a bubble of all bubbles, as George Soros once alluded to. Gold is the biggest bubble out there that's going to happen. That's, well, he didn't say it was going to happen. He says it was the ultimate bubble. And a lot of people said it was, they interpreted it as it was going to be it was in a bubble. That's not what I figured he meant. I think he meant it's going to be the ultimate bubble. It's going to go way the hell up, really super high. So anyway, over and out. Just hang in there, man. This is more of a pep talk, man. More of a pep talk. But I just want to tell you, though, Russia and China, I just want to reiterate that. Russia and China aren't really getting together too well with this oil stuff, that they're going to take over the hegemony of the dollar in the oil market world that easily at all. They can't even decide on building the pipeline. And like I said, if they build a pipeline, Russia's going to have to get cash in advance, and they're going to have to get cash based upon a fixed oil price, which can really screw them up pretty bad later on. You know, if you know what I mean. In other words, if they have to make contracts right now for oil in the future, that the oil is going to be $100 a barrel and it goes up 120 in the future on a spot market, or 130 or more, that's all they're getting is 100. They're going to have the money now, and they're going to have to deliver at that price. Too bad. Not that simple, man. Not that simple. The dollar's not going to fall that super easy. That's one thing.